Today I want to talk to you about a topic that 90% of you would rather not discuss. This is something that most of you would never ever admit to. This is something that in today's world we would sooner face personal injury than own up to this one thing. If I asked you what your greatest fear was, I would get a million different answers, but I guarantee that I would not get the correct answer from you. I bet I have you wondering right now. Have you ever been in a situation where you make a decision to do or say something against the advice of others that turned out to be something so stupid that you couldn't believe you actually did it? I'd like to discuss this for a moment. Human nature is such that in a situation like that, even though we realize that what we did was the dumbest thing ever, we now find ourselves in a position where we need to save face somehow, rather than admit that we are a total fool for doing what we did. We will defend our foolish decision with anything and everything, just to avoid the embarrassment of being made an utter fool of, even though we know that we are a fool. If someone came up to us and told us to our face that we were a foolish idiot, we would be offended, and in many cases would even resort to violence to avoid the humiliation. I'm sure that we all at one stage have been in a situation like this, right? We all know that feeling. Okay, now you might be asking yourself what this has to do with anything. Actually, it has everything to do with everything. Let me explain. We as a white minority in South Africa as a whole made one decision in 1992 that even though there were some among us that warned us not to, we made the decision anyway. This one decision has turned out to be the dumbest decision we could ever have made. By now, I am sure that most of you listening to this know what I'm talking about. In 1992, we as the white minority in South Africa were given the choice of whether or not we wanted to relinquish control of the country to the ANC or not. There were some among us who saw the stupidity in this decision and warned us not to do it, but we went ahead and voted yes anyway. Now, I know there are going to be many of you in the comments who will declare that you voted no, and that this mess is someone else's problem. And to some extent, you would be technically correct. But I have news for you. Yes, it is your problem, because you are part of the group whose vote was yes. It does not matter what you or your neighbor voted. We voted as a whole. The only reason why people still declare that they voted no, other than just to prove that they were right, is, as I mentioned before, to avoid being considered a fool. To this end, we are willing to do and say many things. The bottom line is that we, as the white minority, were fools. We were big fools, as big as fools can get. There were mitigating circumstances, though. We were sold out. We were lied to, and we were betrayed by the likes of de Klerk and Rolf Meyer and a few others. Nevertheless, we were fooled. We were suckered like there was no tomorrow. We now sit in a position where we know for sure that we quite literally shot ourselves in the foot. At the time, we were handed a .22, which is a very small caliber handgun, or could be a rifle. We took this .22 and pointed it at our foot and pulled the trigger ourselves. The wound was not lethal, but we patched it up with a plaster and carried on with our lives. What we did not realize was that that wound has slowly turned septic over time and has been festering for the last 25 years. We don't know it, but the condition of that wound has got so bad that we are about to develop septicemia, and it will probably kill us if we don't do something about it soon. To make matters worse, that .22 has now been replaced with a loaded shotgun, and it is now pointing straight at our heads. Once again, we have been given a choice, and it is up to us to make the correct one this time. Fool us once, shame on you. Fool us twice, shame on us. Are we once again going to volunteer to pull that trigger ourselves? Are we going to keep hobbling along with that septic hole in our foot, or are we going to make sure that it gets the correct treatment before it costs us our lives? Let us look at our situation right now. I will use my personal favorite and the most visible example of how we are being fooled right now. That is Eskom and our wonderful absent president, Cyril Ramaphosa. Years ago, when load shedding started, we were fed the lie that coal was wet, etc., and that was why they were having load shedding. It was proven then to be a blatant lie. Do you mean to tell me that until then, Eskom power stations somehow never got rained on? Had they never had wet coal before? It was proven that the whole load shedding debacle was purposely orchestrated in order to implement an emergency procedure where the tender process is bypassed. This enabled coal and other services to be purchased at any price from any supplier without going through the tender process. This in itself was a criminal act, and at the very least treasonous. All the lies we have been fed lately were proven to be just that on the night of Wednesday, the 11th of December. Until then, we were led to believe that Eskom was in such dire trouble that we were plunged into stage 6 load shedding, and there were very real fears that the grid could collapse entirely at any time. Suddenly, Ramaphosa returns from a foreign visit, decides to have a meeting with a few of his cronies, and just like that, we wake up the next morning and power has been restored. On realizing that the power had been restored, the general reaction of the public has been, "Yay, the power is back. Quick, turn on the TV so that we can watch Sevendalon." Well, maybe not that exact reaction, but I think you get the picture. To most, it was just a case of believing that someone had fixed the problem quickly. Most people don't even know what a power station looks like inside and have no idea of the enormity of what is happening there. What happened here is absolutely impossible, my friends. You cannot fix a boiler with a signature on a piece of paper overnight. You do not solve a shortage of coal with a signature overnight. You cannot raise the quality of the coal with a signature on a piece of paper overnight. No, my friends. This latest bout of load shedding was once again a deliberate act to further weaken the economy and sabotage business. Not to mention all the opportunities it provided for corrupt officials as well as suppliers to once again rape the coffers of what little is left of your taxes. That's right. The money they have been stealing is not the government's money, it is yours. You paid every cent of it in taxes, and they are stealing it faster than you can pay it. If you have not heard of the NDR, or National Democratic Revolution, I suggest you go and research it with a matter of urgency. It is the policy that the ANC decided to follow many years ago to literally sabotage the economy and to drive you, yes you, out of this country. That is if they don't murder you first. It is an official ANC document in the public domain that spells out your demise. They are following this policy to the letter and nobody is doing a damn thing to stop them. Why? Because we are once again being fooled by the lies and deceit being fed to us. We are once again making the same mistake we made in 1992. There are some among us warning us that we are making a huge mistake, but we are once again not listening. We are sitting with that shotgun in our hands. It is pressed under our chin and we have a finger on the trigger. Are we once again going to pull that trigger ourselves? This time it will be a fatal shot. You and I will never get another opportunity. Your children's future and very likely their lives will depend on the decision we are about to make. In 1994, the ANC inherited a thriving country in which everything worked. It would be years and years before the wheels figuratively started to fall off. But people, the wheel nuts have all fallen off long ago. The wheels are wobbling around and the driver has lost control. We are heading for a fatal accident here. Our very existence and that of our children depend on what we do now. I say now because the cliff is in sight and we are about to go over the edge. My question to you is, are we once again going to willingly and voluntarily pull that trigger ourselves like the fools we were back in 1992, or are we going to turn that gun the way it should be facing and stand up against this bullshit? Please like and share this video on as many other platforms as possible. It's the only way my message gets out. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, do it now by clicking on the big red subscribe button below and to the right of this video. While you are there, click on the bell icon next to it to receive notifications every time I upload new content. If you would like to support my channel and my preparations for the likely disaster we are facing, in the description of this video, I provided ways for both local as well as international subscribers to make a contribution. If you would like to make a crypto contribution, I have also provided a Bitcoin as well as a Litecoin wallet address. If you would like to contribute any other cryptos, simply send me an email to the address also provided in the description and I will supply you with the appropriate wallet address. To those special people who do support me, I say a huge thank you. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. Keep safe out there. Until next time.